Hello everyone! Thanks for joining us for our special Halloween where you will learn how to get started with Qt. We're going to try something new this time. I have collected some questions from budding Qt developers and I'm going to ask them to my colleague here, the gruesome, the abominable Tino Pisisalo, our training guru. During the session,
everybody.
if you have any questions, yes, say hi to the Qties. So during the session, if you have any questions of your own, please submit them via the question box at the bottom of the interface, and those questions will be answered at the end. The webinar here will be recorded, and you will receive a copy of it along with the slides delivered to your email account. Due to some technical hiccups, you will receive those tomorrow, if we survive the night, that is. So, with that, we will get started and dive right into question number 1. Tino, what are the cool things you can actually do with Qt? What makes it special? What does it excel at?
Yes, I will answer that soon, but before I do that, I will teach you one Finnish word. I come from Finland, actually where the Qt company originates, and you can see that there is some strange thing on the screen now, and that guy is from moving characters, and it's called mörkö. Mörkö may not be very easy Finnish word. So where Qt is used, it solves plenty of issues. It's used in over 70 industries by close to 10,000 customers in a community where there will be 10 million downloads per Qt version. And it's actually used in many places. I just put a few interesting cases here. Automotive, most of the top 10 automotive brands use Qt today. There are some brands what you can see. In consumer electronics, in many devices, smart TVs, for example, washing machines, coffee makers. In automation, used by Ulstein in some ships. Ulstein, for example, said that they were able to save the development costs for automotive solutions from 1,000 hours to 50 hours by using Qt. There are plenty of different kinds of devices. It's not only the user interface. Actually, there are companies who are using our libraries for the engine, and then there are companies who are using Qt for tooling. They don't use our libraries at all, but they use the tools because they think that they are so cool. And if I continue a little bit that why Qt is so special, why should I use Qt? It really increases the development productivity. I mentioned the Ulstein case, speed up your time to market. Why is actually that? It's because of the tools, an excellent workflow to work with, to start from the design, to test efficiently, to see bugs in the very early phase in the development, and to be able to test in the target device as well. All this will speed up time to market. You can create intuitive experiences, and that's because of the QML language that allows you to have very fluid user experience in the decorative way. You can code once your program and deploy across all screens and platforms. We really have a cross-platform framework. We have native applications, as we will see, but just build and deploy to any platform, to any screen size, what you want to use, with a different pixel ratio and pixel density. All that can be rather easily taken into account. Simplify your strategy. Yes.
Maybe this is taking a bit too far for this stage, but I just wanted to rein it back a bit and ask, let's say if I'm a complete not a noob, which I am, Or if I'm a student and just starting off with programming, so why would I want to learn Qt? Because I hear C++ is it's not the easiest one to learn.
It's definitely not the easiest one to learn, but I will go a little bit further here. These are the marketing statements, and actually the important thing is that they are true. But one big thing is that Qt applications are native. What it means, we don't have a runtime. If you think about, for example, Microsoft technologies, runtime, you build your programs into the intermediate language, which is interpreted by some runtime, and then the runtime is used in the actual APIs which are provided by the platform. And there is always some kind of a delay in this kind of an approach. There is also possibly bigger memory consumption, but in Qt, all this can be very well optimized. Not to mention that we are not running the applications in any kind of a sandbox. You can really run your applications like native applications, meaning that you can also access the native APIs. Yeah, I say that C++ is not the easiest thing to learn, but all this would definitely benefit. That if you use your time and energy to learn C++, you will get rewarded with faster development, with more, less memory consuming programs, and easier access to platform APIs, and better performance. Does it make any sense? Would you like to afford to do something like that? I think you should.
So yeah, we talked a bit about C++. Let's say if I'm a programmer and let's say I used C# in Unity, or for example, I'm a web developer, why would I want to branch out into C++? And for these guys, why would you recommend Qt?
Yeah, so for the web developers, for example, you are always a little bit limited to what actually the browser supports. That if you write a web application, you anyway have to take care that does this feature now work exactly in the same way in Safari, how it works in this other browser. This is one issue what you have to consider. How you create native looking applications. You can, of course, do the styling, but there is quite a lot of work to style your applications to look like Windows, universal Windows platform applications, Android applications, or whatever. This is another issue. If you want to access APIs which are not available in JavaScript libraries, then you have to do all kinds of things to make it possible from your sandboxed web environment to do that. And this is also not a limitation of Qt because it's native. And the same thing applies to the .NET as well. There are plenty of nice libraries, plenty of nice classes. I have to say that .NET programming is easier, in my opinion at least. It's easier to manage, for example, the memory. But we have solutions in Qt how to manage the dynamically allocated memory. But anyway, again, it's not native. You can't, or actually, if you think about frameworks like Xamarin, you can really write also applications which look totally native, which even use native controls. But then if you think you create that kind of a control or API call, is it cross-platform anymore? It's not. It's just perhaps Android or iOS API, but not a cross-platform API. This is also a very important difference, that you have to still be expert, for example, in Xamarin .NET to write programs for Android or iOS. In Qt, you don't have to be, because Qt takes care of abstracting the APIs. for you. So there is definitely a benefit that if you want to efficiently deploy for multiple platforms, why to use Qt. Okay.
So yeah.
Don't ask all the questions, or let's do some practical things and then you can continue. Or is there something extremely important?
Well, not really. I was just wondering, since you were talking about native development, if you can elaborate a bit on that.
Yeah, it means that each platform, they have at least a little bit different programming APIs. So if you are doing .NET development on multiple platforms, you can do it using the native APIs, using Xamarin, for example. But the thing is that because different platforms don't provide similar APIs, then you have to become a platform expert, and that increases complexity. It increases the development time, which is not good. We have a different approach in Qt that you can create native applications, but we don't provide all native APIs. We provide a common APIs using Qt APIs. So if you really write it for Android, you can actually run it in Mac OS or Windows or wherever without any changes. Of course, the user experience will be better if you do some small changes. This is the idea. And nothing prevents, if you want to have this native functionality which is not provided by Qt, because we don't have a cross-platform API for that, no problem. You can easily call, for example, Android. You may think that Android is Java-based. How can I call intents, for example, from my C++ program using the Java native interface? It's not a limitation, but then, of course, it means that you have to be a little bit a platform expert as well. Okay.
So you wanted to show us something?
Yes. Then I thought that because there was a question, for example, how to use the BeagleBone in Ubuntu or how to cross-compile. So let's look at some practical issues. This was Meet to Qt demo. How to get started? So the first thing is what you need is actually Qt itself. You can go to Qt.io, and then you have a first problem that if you look at the downloads, you can download Qt for application development and Qt for device creation. What are these? What is this offering actually? Qt for application development is for desktop, mobile. Why not embed it as well? But the idea is that you have such a platform where anybody can install programs, whether they Qt programs or whatever. And then Qt for device creation is a little bit different. There the idea is that you create closed devices. So your device is running Qt libraries, of course some operating system, and then your applications, but users cannot install new programs for these platforms. And the device creation is used for automotive. We have different verticals: automotive, automation. We have the set-top box, digital TV, and medical currently available. And let's look at in practice that what it actually means. So there was a question about Ubuntu. This is now my Ubuntu virtual machine. I have downloaded from the website. I have downloaded an online installer. Were it application development or device creation, we have only one unified installer. So it will then check from the different licenses that whether you are going to install device creation components or application development components. And I have here already the installer running. If you look at a little bit, this contains both. Here is the desktop stuff, and then there is an embedded. Let's look at the embedded in more detail soon. But in the desktop, there will be different versions, the latest version, and we want to have also previous versions that if somebody notices that something what I already had working in 5.9.1, for example, is not working in 5.9.2. So it's easy to go back. Okay, let's continue using for a while 5.9.1 before this bug has been fixed. And then it's easy to select, okay, I want to install Qt libraries for desktop. For Android, I want to have some additional components like two-dimensional charts, in application purchasing, which is available for Android, iOS, and Mac OS, as you can see actually in the tooltip. And then there will be the essential tool, which is the Qt Creator installed by default. You cannot check it out. It will be there always. And after that, you do the installation and launch a Qt Creator, our tool which integrates designer tools, auto test tools, code static analyzer tools, performance analyzing tools, memory checkers, deployment tools that you can deploy not only to Android, iOS, or Windows-based mobile phones, but you can deploy to embedded targets as well. And then if you are totally new to Qt, you will go to the welcome page and look at there that, hey, how to move on. There are plenty of examples what you can study, but of course at the beginning they don't tell you anything that, hey, what is this example? There are plenty of tutorials, but the easiest way really to get started is to click this Get Started Now and look at that, hey, what this IDE contains, how I manage my projects, how do I design in different way the user interface is, how do I test my code, how do I build it? And this already tells you quite a lot if you really have energy and time to read all this stuff. You can create easily a project, but then the next problem is that, hey, we have widgets, controls, QtQuick, QtQuick controls 2, Qt canvas. Oh, what I would actually need and what not. Let's look at a little bit the theory again. These are Qt libraries, and seriously, hey, what is the point here? Why do I show you this kind of a thing? There are about 50 cross-platform libraries, meaning that you can not only write cross-platform programs using Qt APIs easily, and you can not only create user interfaces using these APIs easily, but you can really use databases in the cross-platform way. You can use sensors in Android, iOS in the same way. Also, the sensor APIs are totally different in the native APIs. You can manage SVG, scalable vector graphics, not to mention different user interface components like widgets, controls, and QtQuick, what we just saw. I hope that after seeing all this is not your feeling right now that, what? Do I really need to learn all that stuff? Do I need to handle that? Of course not. That's not the point. Let's look at that, what is relevant and what is not. But one thing you have to decide, what kind of a user interface my program has. Possibly no user interface at all. It's just a daemon running somewhere in the operating system. I have a 2D, 3D dimensional user interface what I want to create in the declarative way using the Qt modeling or Qt meta object language. This is nice, rather easy to learn, although there are quite a lot of details. Language to create modern touch-based user experiences. It can be used in to have a nice user experience in mobile, in embedded especially, also in desktop, although quite commonly Qt widgets are still used in desktop. Widgets is a little bit older offering. The important thing is that they provide traditional desktop look and feel. You don't have to worry that how my Qt application looks like a Windows application, how it looks like a Mac OS application. It's all built in. You can have animations and effects but it's not accelerated by any graphics processor. If your hardware has one, it's typically just software rendered, so typically the user interfaces are more static, and there are not all kinds of graphics accelerator based nice effects like blurring or drop shadow or things like that. Or then you can create web and hybrid applications. So if you are already a web developer and you want to use Qt, you can reuse your existing user interfaces based on the web technologies, JavaScript, HTML5, and so on, and just use that in Qt program. Okay, so let's see. First, widget application. Just something for the desktop user interface. That's the idea of this. Just create anything with our cool tool. There may be several number of different Qt installations for different platforms: Android, this and that version; desktop, this and that version; embedded, this and that version; BeagleBone, this and that version. The device creation is currently not supported in Mac. That's why you cannot see here any device creation targets. You can just see desktop or then mobile targets. But I will show in Ubuntu soon that how we support also the BeagleBone. Okay, and then you continue, create a project, and what will be created? It will create you some kind of a user interface and then a form where you can design your user interface. And to save a little bit time, I actually have created a simple project where there is a simple user interface. You can see that we have a designer where you can just drag and drop different items, apply a layout. You see that the layout objects are there. You can just drag and drop them. If I break the layout for a while, for demonstration purposes, you see that there is one important problem, that my user interface doesn't scale. And of course, this is not the way how you do user interfaces, but if you use our layout objects and layout classes properly, you can really make your user interface scalable for different screens. Okay, let's put the layout back. This is a browser. You enter a URL here, then there will be a browser widget which will be shown down here. It's not in the designer at all. And then you can actually load pages by pressing the button. There is one dummy button, and you can navigate back to the previous pages. What I want to show here is that the whole stuff is just something like 50 lines of code. Main function and the widget which does all the stuff. So I want to emphasize that it's not complicated from the C++ point of view. Of course, you need to understand the basics like inheritance, how we inherit the classes, the visibility, scope, that what are the public, private, protected. You need to understand the polymorphism, how we can override, re-implement functions, methods in the subclass. You have to understand how to use templates. You don't have to know how to create templates, but how to use templates. For example, containers, list. If you have a list, you have to define that. What kind of an items the list contains, for example, integers. But this is actually very much what you need to be able to write already quite nice Qt applications. So the learning curve is not so deep. You don't have to know all the nice details of C++ 11, 14, 17, and forthcoming 20. Of course, it helps, but it's absolutely not necessary at the beginning. Okay.
So if you I just wanted to remind the audience to submit your questions if you have any. And I have one too. I guess what if you talked about Qt widgets before, you talked about QtQuick. What's the difference and when would you use which?
Yes. So the difference really is that widgets are raster-based, they are rasterized. Widgets are user interface elements here. They are building blocks to create user interface like this. Here we have a user interface where we have a line editor, we have some buttons. This is just a dummy editor. There is a label, and so on. So they are used to create user interfaces. And now, for example, this application, if I run it, it first builds and then runs, takes a little bit of time. Then my user interface will look like this based on the different widget types what we provide already. So to summarize, it's rather quick to create a skeleton or the prototype of the application user interface just by dragging and dropping in our editor the different widgets to the forms. And then we have another offering which will be, or which is, the QtQuick. And there the difference is that QtQuick also provides a lot of user interface elements, but not only. There are elements for defining animation, elements for defining application settings. And the main difference is that this is C++, but using the QtQuick, the language will be QML, which is a declarative language. I will show that quickly soon. And then QtQuick is rendered by using OpenGL, meaning that we can really benefit the hardware acceleration if we have any graphics processing. So we can have more effects in the user interface to make it nicer looking and faster. But I still want to emphasize, look at here the feature that there is less than 50 lines of code, and it's really a full browser what we can do. I can type here the Qt.io, hit the enter key, and then it takes for a while before it loads, but there it is. And the whole stuff what you see here is one class, one type, which is this QWeb engine. It will provide us the functionality to load a page like here, go back to the previous page like here. So this is very important in Qt, that the user interface, that the APIs, the programming APIs are very intuitive and easy to use. But let's go a little bit further in the presentation. So the other offering is really QtQuick, and let's quickly look at how that looks like. So we can create another application which is a QtQuick application. I will actually use QtQuick controls. QtQuick controls is a level on the top of the QtQuick which will provide more user interface building blocks, more controls, which are the UI building blocks like widgets, to make it easier to create user interfaces. And let's create a dummy project again. And what is created is that you see that there is a simple main function where we will create an engine, which is a runtime, which is compiling the QML code to the bytecode and then parsing that. That's not relevant, but this is that code is rather different. This is something where you don't have to know C++. This is very simple. If you have background in web programming, you will see immediately that, hey, this looks like CSS style files. We have a selector, what we want to style. We have a property, assignment, property assignment. We have a child selector, property assignment, property assignment. So this is very different from the C++, much more intuitive, easier to learn, and very efficient in terms of amount of code. There are just a couple of lines because you just create an object like a swipe view and then define properties that, hey, how this view should work. And if you run it, that's the important thing. You see that in the previous demo, which was widget-based, I had some buttons. Well, I have some buttons here as well, but then I had the browser. Anyway, more static user interface controls compared here, where I have really dynamic. I can swipe pages from one page to another. Of course, I can press the buttons, and I could have any kind of UI elements here to have very nice UI flow. But yes, we decided not to show that because of the network connection, that it would look quite bad actually, because you don't get 60 frames per second over the network, and it doesn't make a lot of sense then to show all the animations. Okay, does this clarify the differences between the widgets and QtQuick or QtQuick controls?
If you could tell me, if I'm a bit familiar with QtQuick, so I would probably jump on that one just because it looks very clean. It looks easy to use. It looks shiny. When would you recommend? What task would you recommend QtQuick for? What task would you recommend QtWidgets for?
Yeah. So if I had rather low power hardware, embedded hardware without no graphics acceleration, so no graphics processor, in other words, I would use widgets. And in all other cases, where it's a mobile, desktop application, embedded, I would use QtQuick. No matter if I do some spreadsheet, for example, basic desktop application, if I do the coffee machine, nice touchscreen based user interface, or instrument cluster to the car, for example. In all those cases, it would be QtQuick. So
now, one question I've been asked a couple of times: can you combine the two in the same application?
Absolutely. You can combine in such a way that your widget application also has widgets which are rendering QML content. This is totally possible. But then the other direction, that you have a QML application which also has a widget, we don't support that. It's just software, so you can actually implement the solution yourself, but it will anyway has so much effect on the performance. The rendering speed is not optimized anymore if you do that. So that's why we don't provide solution. But a widget application containing QtQuick based widgets, that's totally okay.
Another question I was asked is it goes a bit into the BeagleBone discussion. What should I consider when choosing my hardware, and does Qt require powerful configuration, or how high can I go and how low can I go?
Yes. So let's look at a little bit forward. So for device creation, what is the value why you should use Qt? One value proposition is that we have a ready-made, pre-built boot to Qt software. So we have already built Qt libraries for about 10 different platforms, and it's not very complicated to create new ones if you have, for example, some, let's say, NVIDIA chipset which is not supported, and you want to create something for that. If you look at a little bit the Ubuntu, what I had here. So there is a Qt embedded, and then there are plenty of boot to Qt software stacks. And actually here they are. There's an emulator, which is of course not just emulating the hardware, NVIDIA Jetson, Toradex, Boundary devices, Freescale, Raspberry, blah, blah, blah. And now when you asked about the BeagleBone, well, we have to keep, unfortunately, currently the list of supported devices quite small because we just don't have resources to support all of that. We are trying to find a solution that how we could really dramatically increase this list of different devices. And after you do the installation, let's actually press cancel. I don't need that window anymore. Building my Qt application to the target, cross-compiling that to the target platform will be as easy as I will create, this is Qt Creator again, I will create in Qt Creator a new kit. This kit will define that what kind of a cross-compiler, what is the SUS root, what will be the actual compiler, what will be used. And after that, I will just select in my Qt Creator. I know I don't have any project available, but I could select here that I want to build for that particular target. So whenever the target is supported, it's as simple as that. If there is no a certain target, you can really create the Yocto recipes and create yourself then the rules how to create. How to get all the cross compilers, how to create the root file system, and so on. It's not complicated, but anyway, if you have never done it, it will take some time. From us, it typically takes something like two weeks to do this kind of a configuration. Right now, the QtQuick, so answer to your question finally, right now the QtQuick is more for high-end devices than extremely low end. So it goes to the medium devices. For high-end devices, if you have really a graphics processor and 2 CPU cores, 1 core for your GUI thread and 1 core for the render, you can do extremely nice effects. But of course, if you all platforms, they don't have the graphics processor at all, then it's okay if you have a single core CPU, because we do have a software renderer for QtQuick. But of course, then you have to drop quite many nice effects. You can have QtQuick, you can have buttons, you can have simple animations. Full screen animations will be already quite slow, but you have to drop all kinds of nice effects, and of course implement it with OpenCL because you don't have the graphics process. But to go extremely low, that we are not talking about system on chip, which have all kinds of additional services, that we have just microcontrollers. This is feasible. We have made some studies, but it's not available yet, and we are planning right now that we may support also microcontrollers with very limited processing power in the future. So very well scales. Answer to your question, Patrick. Very well scales from high end to mid-end devices, but very low end is with QtQuick a little bit challenging right now.
Right. That's a great segue to the next question, which goes, I want to make a cross-platform application and expand the number of screens and target devices to deploy my app. How do I make sure to make my future work easy already today? Do you have some tips?
Yeah. So there are 2 important things what you should take into account, and one is the scalability, and the other one is the pixel ratio of different displays. And here, for example, I have this trivial QtQuick application you can see that there is a swipe view, which is the user interface control, what you just saw. I swipe left and right. So the important thing is that I don't specify here that this user interface control has a width of 100 pixels and height of whatever 250, because then it will be that size. So there are plenty of ways to define the dynamic layout for the controls, and anchoring is one thing which is used here. There are others, but anchors is one. Meaning that now whenever the parent, the window size changes, the swipe view size changes as well. And this is trivial to see what happens here as well. So that will result that now if I use this application, now it's in desktop, but if I build this for my Android, for example, and there are different Android different resolutions for Android devices, I can just trust Qt that it will do the scaling in the right way. It's not just scaling, because then if you write the programs in the right way, the localization will be taken into account. You will notice that when you have right to left layout, for example, your images and of course text, that's a trivial case, will go to the right without writing a single line of code. Using the pixel density, if you have a Retina display, Qt will take care. Of course, this is automatic in iOS and Mac, but in other platforms, Qt will take care that the font sizes and image sizes are scaled in the right way, that, for example, your image is double size, but the font size is still the original size because it was not scaled. So all that will make it easier to manage. Qt provides all this and makes it easier after you write your application in the right way. It will make it easy to manage different screen sizes.
So we have 3 minutes until we go to the Q&A. Please remember to submit some questions about, well, anything you can think of in regards to training. You can also ask Tino to, maybe tell us a Finnish ghost story, or I can do a dramatic reading of a poem or something to get you in the right mood. But
I didn't prepare for that. I could use actually this 3 minutes for telling that how we can help you then that when you start with your project.
Please do.
So that of course it's important that I try to tell that it's not rocket science. You have to learn C++. You have to know what is relevant in Qt. What are the Qt tricks? It's difficult to put into the get started presentation. So we have, first of all, we have the developer resources to help you in your projects. For example, to create devices, user interfaces, to customize boot to Qt settings. We have great support where you can send tickets to ask that, hey, why this is not working? Is there a workaround, or do I perhaps doing something wrong? What is the best way to solve this kind of a problem? We have a lot of training and training courses. You can build your own content. I want to have a QtQuick training with 3D emphasis, using the embedded approach as well, so that in the end I can build my 3D QtQuick applications easily to my beagle bone or whatever the target will be. And then we have the consulting services that if you are thinking from the architecture point of view, what would be the optimal architecture to have my instrument cluster plus all the lower level, engine level functionality there? What should I make it to boot it in less than 2 seconds, for example? This is what our consults provide to you and any other customers with a lot of help. You are not alone in this Halloween world.
So I can imagine that some of our listeners, they may have a bit more a corporate point of view, maybe looking around for maybe the company needs a new development platform. How can Q teams help them? And thinking of architecture planning or related things, what are the main considerations there?
Yeah. So first of all, the good thing is that yes, we support that. Using Qt, you can create your own platform for your customers and to create applications for tractors or for automotive or whatever will be then the target or industry where you target that. So we will help you that how to create the platform tooling, how to customize the Qt IDE, the creator, how to create the community if you want to do that, what we have done, how to set up the different kind of custom components, for example, custom controls, custom libraries, what you may need in your Qt framework. So to create really your own Qt framework based on our expertise and based on the applications what we based on the components what we already have.
All right.
I had a slide about that in the presentation, but of course I was so clever that I dropped that. I wanted to minimize the number of slides. So now you don't see the practical slide. Sorry, my fault.
It's good that you deleted the good one then. Well, let's take a few questions from chat, shall we? Yeah, let's have a look. Idul asks, is QtQuick compiled?
This is very good question. So by default, it's okay. It is compiled. Let's answer in this way first. But the default compilation is to the bytecode, which will be interpreted in runtime. But we do have an additional component, which is trivial to use, QtQuick compiler, which will actually compile the QML code to C++, and then the C++ will be compiled to the binary. But yes, it will be. Also, the bytecode we do have in our QML engine and JavaScript engine, we have also just-in-time compiler. So in the bytecode, if there will be recognized that this is something which is executed more than 10 times, for example, those parts will be just-in-time compiled, but not to the binary code, but not the whole bytecode.
Idul also asks, let's see, can you do signals and slots for QtQuick?
Yes, the actual QtQuick is based also signals and slots. If we go back now, let's go back to the creator. This is better where you see it. So the idea here, I didn't explain all the details, but the idea is very simple, that you create an object. This is just a C++ class under the hood, although it doesn't look C++ at all. And then we create property bindings. We bind that, for example, the anchors will be filled with the anchors of the parent. And now this binding works in such a way that whenever the parent property changes, there will be a signal under the hood which will notify that this value must be changed. So yes, there is. And actually it's not so common to create slots directly. Here we see an example that we have a button in the form. When the button is clicked, you see that there is a naming convention that you have to start the signal handler as on and then the capital signal name. So now when there is a signal that the button is clicked, this signal handler JavaScript code will be called. So yes, short answer is that it's heavily based on the signals and slots. The whole QML language, Qt meta object language, uses heavily the QObject meta object features like the memory management. So who will be the parent and destroy Earth? I didn't want to go there. Destroys, for example, the swipe view. Of course, it will be the application window. Properties. All these properties are QObject properties. Some of you may know what that is. And then the property bindings based on the signals and slots.
Now, another question, the last one I have for now. So if you have one, make sure to submit them now. Doesn't have to be an essay, just get it out there quick so we can answer it for you before we call it for tonight. Is QtQuick for Raspberry Pi and BeagleBone?
For Raspberry Pi, it is, but for BeagleBone, we had it at some point, but as I told you that we have removed support of something because we thought that this is not the most relevant platforms and we don't have resources to maintain those all. If that is relevant to you, I would recommend that you contact us, our consulting services, and ask it to get it back. So we have to do some updates, and I wouldn't expect that it takes longer than a week, and it will be available. But we just need to limit that. Hey, what will be what our customers, what will be the most useful platforms for them? And the good news is that if you are a customer, you can tell us. So if you have a license, you can tell us that, hey, this is extremely relevant for us. Could you please support starting this again? Or if it's not supported, could you start supporting it now?
And yeah, that are all the questions for tonight. Tino, do you have something else you wanted to add yourself?
I just want to add that Qt is extremely nice and efficient way to write programs. There are plenty of customers who don't even use it for the cross-platform cases, but especially if you need to have cross-platform applications in mobile, embedded, desktop. Qt is very productive solution for you. And then, of course, happy Halloween. I want to wish to all of you, and thank you for listening to my presentation.
I just got one more question in. How would you access the GPIO of the Raspberry Pi from Qt?
It's implemented in the platform abstraction layer. So platform abstraction layer is a library which will have an abstraction of the screen, and then there will be the screen properties, the physical, the logical pixel numbers, and whatever the screen will provide, what kind of a properties, and that will be then accessed using the screen types. We have a Q screen in C++, and then we have a screen type in QtQuick to access that information of whatever platform we have. So it's not a Raspberry Pi because it depends that what kind of a screen we have. It will use then the platform APIs to get the screen actual pixel density. But yes, we have a library for that. Short answer. Called platform abstraction.
Just wanted to add to what you said before that. I think that's a very I don't know if it's common knowledge, but I also think that developers that use Qt, they generally live longer and are really handsome.
I have heard that as well. I think it's true.
Must be. Must be. Science. So yes, I think this is about all the time we have today. If you have any more questions, such as something that we didn't go over that you were wondering about, please send us an email to info@qt.io, and we will answer them for you. Also, don't forget to visit our website, qt.io, where you will find all kinds of useful information. So thank you all so much for joining. If you enjoyed yourself, we have a couple of more webinars lined up. Next one will be next Wednesday on the 8th of November, and is called Accelerating Time to Market for Embedded Devices. So all of you who are into embedded devices but feel things could go a bit faster, be sure to check that out. Until then, we wish you a great evening, and until next time, goodbye.
And happy Halloween, Ghostbusters.
I'm afraid of no bugs.
Good one.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.